Every Monday at 9 a.m., I sent my parents $14,000 without fail. It was my silent way of keeping the peace, of pretending we were still a family. But last week, they skipped my daughter's birthday. Not a call, not a card, nothing. When I finally asked why, my dad's voice was cold and firm. "Your daughter means nothing to us." For a second, I couldn't breathe. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just opened my phone, trembling, and started cutting them off, payment by payment. 40 minutes later, my phone buzzed again, and that message changed everything. For 8 months straight, my Mondays started the same way. Coffee, nurse's scrubs, tired eyes, and a transfer of $14,000 to my parents at exactly 9 a.m. It wasn't love, it was habit, maybe guilt. Maybe it was the hope that if I kept giving, they would finally see me, not as a mistake, not as the daughter who disappointed them, but as family again. After my night shifts, I would sit at the kitchen table with my laptop open, my daughter Eliana's drawings taped to the wall next to the bills. I typed in the same amounts every week and then stared at the confirmation message blinking on the screen like a pulse. I couldn't stop. Payment sent. My mom never thanked me. My dad never mentioned it. But when their car broke down, I paid for the repairs. When their electricity bill was overdue, I covered it before they even asked. It wasn't generosity, it was survival. Keeping them calm meant keeping the peace. Eliana didn't understand, of course. She thought her grandparents lived far away, not just 30 minutes across town. "Can they come to my dance festival?" she would ask, twirling in the living room in her sparkly skirt. I would smile, swallow the truth, and say, "Maybe next time, my love." She would nod, believing me. Children always believe. I used to believe, too. I believed that parents soften over time, that pride wears down, that love finds its way back through the cracks. I even imagined them sitting at my kitchen table again, holding Eliana's little hands, telling her stories about when I was her age. But every call with my mother reminded me how far apart we were. She spoke to me like I was an employee, not a daughter. Her voice was always dry, precise. "Don't forget to add groceries this week. Your father's cholesterol pills are running out." Some nights, I would hear Eliana talking to her dolls, giving them names. Grandma, Grandpa, Mommy. She made them hug, laugh, and share cookies. Watching her made my chest ache. She was building the family she wished she had. So when her birthday arrived, I went all out. Streamers, balloons, lemonade in glass jars, even a cheap second-hand bounce house I found. She spun around in her pink dress, her hair braided like a princess, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Do you think they'll really come this time, Mommy?" she asked, looking through the gate as the guests arrived. I hesitated, forcing a smile. "Maybe, sweetie. Let's just wait a little longer." But deep down, I already knew. By the time the clock struck 3, the candles had melted into little pink puddles, and the lemonade was warm. The yard still smelled of sugar and sunscreen, but the laughter was fading. Eliana kept watching the gate, her fingers sticky with frosting, the hem of her dress catching the light. Every few minutes she asked the same question, her voice getting quieter each time. "Mommy, do you think Grandma and Grandpa are almost here?" I smiled the way mothers do when they are breaking inside. "Maybe, my love. There might be a lot of traffic." But there was no traffic, no call, no excuse. Just silence. I kept the party going even after the last guest left. Eliana sat on the front steps with a cupcake in her hand, her sparkly shoes dangling. She stared down the street as if faith itself would drive up and park out front. As the sun began to set, she whispered, "Maybe they forgot." I knelt beside her, brushing the hair from her face. "Maybe," I said, pretending not to feel my throat closing up. "But we had fun, right?" She nodded, already tired, her eyelashes heavy with sleep. That night, after tucking her in, I sat on the couch and looked at the photos on my phone. Her smiling with her friends, balloons floating in the background. Every picture felt like proof that I had tried. Then I saw it. A text from my mother, sent that morning. "Tell Eliana happy birthday from us." That was it. No call, no visit, not even a period at the end of the sentence. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I dialed. I don't even know why. Maybe I wanted an explanation. Maybe a lie that sounded like affection. My father answered. His voice was sharp, annoyed, as if I had interrupted something. "What do you want, Mara?" "Why didn't you come today?" I asked. A pause, a sigh heavy with contempt. "We didn't feel like it." "Dad," I said softly, "Eliana was waiting for you. She made you a card." Another pause, and then the sentence that broke my world in two. "Your daughter means nothing to us." For a moment, all I could hear was the low hum of the fridge and the blood pounding in my ears. My body went cold before my mind could catch up. "What did you just say?" He didn't repeat it. He just hung up. I stood there with the phone still pressed to my ear, staring at the blank wall across the living room. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I was just frozen. Eliana's drawings on the refrigerator behind me moved slightly. Crayon hearts and smiling stick figures in a world that didn't exist. My hands started to shake. I turned the phone over, set it on the counter, and whispered, "To no one. That's fine." The silence felt heavier than grief. I walked to Eliana's room. She was asleep, her hair messy, her cheeks still pink from the day. I knelt beside her and kissed her forehead. "You are everything," I whispered, "even if they don't see it." Back in the kitchen, I glanced at the clock. 9:07 p.m., the same time I usually reviewed the week's payments. The habit was automatic, my thumb hovering over the app before I stopped myself. Not this time. I poured the leftover lemonade down the sink, wiped the counter, and stood in the quiet, knowing that after tonight, something inside me was about to change forever. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table watching the clock pass midnight, replaying his words over and over. "Your daughter means nothing to us." They didn't echo. They carved into me. Each syllable felt like a cut I couldn't stop touching. My phone was still on the counter where I'd left it. I could barely see my reflection in the black screen. Disheveled hair, swollen eyes, a version of myself I hardly recognized. I picked it up, not to call them, but to end something. For years, I had kept the peace by paying for it. Every Monday at 9 a.m., I turned my guilt into money. Now I was done buying forgiveness that never existed. I opened the banking app. My hands trembled as I reviewed the recurring payments: rent, groceries, utilities, insurance, each one with my name next to theirs. I stared at the list and began to delete them, one by one, like cutting puppet strings. Click, cancel, confirm. With each tap, my heart steadied, the shaking subsided. By the time I reached the last line, automatic transfer of $14,000 every Monday, I felt strangely calm. I deleted that one too, and just like that, 8 months of habit disappeared. For a long moment, the house was quiet. The fridge hummed, the pipes groaned, and the night pressed against the windows. Then, my phone vibrated. A text from my mom. "Can you order us some dinner on the app? Nothing expensive, just Chinese or something. We don't have any food in the house." I stared at the screen. 40 minutes. That's how long it took them to notice. 40 minutes after they erased my daughter with a sentence, they wanted takeout. My thumb hovered over the screen. I could have written something. Anything. A warning, a goodbye. But I didn't. I locked the phone and placed it face down. Instead, I went to Eliana's room. She was curled up, breathing softly, her tiny hand clutching the stuffed rabbit she had named Hope. I sat on the edge of her bed, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "Never again," I whispered. Not to her, but to myself. That was the moment the guilt died. I realized I didn't owe them anything, not money, not explanations, not another ounce of my peace. My silence was enough. It was stronger than any confrontation. When I finally stood up, the air felt lighter. The weight on my chest had lifted for the first time in years. I turned off the hallway light and watched the house sink into darkness, a clean, final darkness. Some betrayals don't need a fight. They need a funeral. And that night, I buried the version of myself who still believed that family meant love. The morning after that phone call, sunlight streamed onto the kitchen table as if nothing had happened, but I couldn't get his voice out of my head. Your daughter means nothing to us. It resonated under every sound, even the hum of the fridge. Eliana was still asleep. I made coffee just to have something to hold. The phone rang, an unknown number. For a second, I almost ignored it. This is Barrett, the owner of the house where your parents live. I was just calling to ask. The rent wasn't paid, and that's not like you. It's no longer my responsibility, I said. They'll have to sort it out. He hesitated. They told me you handle their payments. I used to. My tone surprised even me. It was flat, firm. Not anymore. When I hung up, I felt something snap like a cord breaking. I was no longer their safety net. I was just a person drinking cold coffee in her own home. At 10, my brother Reed called. Mara, Mom says you've lost your mind. I let out a short laugh. Define lost. She says you're cutting them off. Yes. Reed was quiet for a few seconds. Good. I'm done too. I blinked. What? I've been sending them money too, he admitted. Not as much as you. A few thousand a month for groceries, gas, little things. I thought if we both helped, they would change. They never told me, I whispered. They never told me about you either, he said. I guess we were both paying rent on the same guilt. I sank into my chair, clutching my mug. So they lied to both of us. Yes, but this time, we're the ones who stopped. His voice broke a little. You did the right thing, Mara. Before I could answer, another notification lit up the screen. A tag on Facebook, a replay of a live stream titled, The Truth About Our Daughter. My stomach turned. God, don't watch it, Reed said quickly, but I was already watching. The thumbnail showed my mother clutching a handkerchief like an actress in the middle of a scene, my father sitting beside her with his arms crossed. We have always supported Mara in everything, my mother sobbed, but she has made things up, telling people we are monsters, that we refuse to see her daughter. None of that is true. My father leaned toward the camera. She has been forcing money on us for years. She needs help. I didn't blink, just watched numbly until the moment I knew was coming. My father held up a printed photo of Eliana, smiling in her pink birthday dress, and repeated the same words, this time for the world. That child does not exist for us. I froze. Images of Eliana's laughter in the park, her little hands clapping in front of the candles, flickered in my mind like a burning film. I closed the video before it finished. Within an hour, the messages started pouring in. Did you see this? That's your dad. The comments piled up under the video, half support, half judgment. Who says that about a 6-year-old girl? If this is real, it's disgusting. I turned off my phone. The house felt too quiet, as if even the air refused to move. Later that afternoon, Reed texted me, "Don't post anything. Let them drown in their own words." I obeyed. Silence. I was learning it could be stronger than rage. By evening, the video had spread all over town. Their church friends shared it with praying hands emojis. Others commented, "What kind of grandparents say that?" The tide was starting to turn without me lifting a finger. The next morning, Barrett wrote again. "I've given them 30 days to vacate. I'm sorry it has come to this." I didn't reply. There was no need. Justice, for once, was efficient. 2 days later, my cousin Juliet called, her voice trembling with anger. "They're at the family reunion. Can you believe it?" I frowned. They weren't even invited. They just showed up anyway looking for sympathy. "I'm tired of pretending," she said. "You might want to check Facebook later." She hung up. An hour later, I did. The video was already gaining shares. A blurry recording from someone's phone showed a sunny backyard, plastic tables, and disposable cups. My parents were near the center. My mother was talking to a circle of relatives, pleading, "No matter what Mara has told you, we love her, and we love that poor child too. She's confused." Juliet's voice cut through the air, clear and firm. "Was that before or after you said her daughter doesn't exist?" The camera swung to her. She held her phone in her hand, the volume on high. From the speaker came my father's unmistakable voice. "Your daughter means nothing to us." There were several gasps, a collective intake of breath. My mother froze mid-sentence. The color drained from my father's face. The entire yard fell silent, except for a lawnmower buzzing in the distance. Then Uncle Elliot stood up slowly, his voice calm but firm. "If that's how you treat your granddaughter, you have no place here." No one argued. No one comforted them. They left without a word, their faces pale, their eyes on the ground. The camera focused back on Juliet. Someone muttered, "Well done." Another voice said, "It's about time." I watched the video 3 times, then set my phone on the table and let out a low, trembling laugh that came from deep inside my chest. It wasn't cruel, just relief. Reed called that night. "Did you see it?" "I saw it." "They humiliated themselves," he said. "Finally." "Yes," I said softly, "and I didn't have to do a thing." "Sometimes the truth takes care of itself," he murmured. That night I sat by Eliana's bed as she slept, her hand clutching her rabbit. For the first time in months, my chest didn't ache. I listened to the gentle tap of rain against the window and thought of all the Monday mornings I had wasted paying for a love that never existed. I opened my laptop, not to send a payment, but to review the confirmation history. 8 months of payments, line after line, all marked as completed. I scrolled to the end and whispered, "Not anymore." The next morning, the headlines in the town's Facebook group were brutal. Church-going couple exposed for disowning granddaughter. Someone had edited the 2 videos together, the live stream and the scene from the reunion. The comments were merciless. Hypocrisy at its finest. You can't just erase your own blood. That poor little girl. By noon, their church had deleted their photos from its page. The landlord changed the locks. Their defenders went silent. I didn't post anything. I didn't celebrate. I just took Eliana to the park again. She drew little stars on the sidewalk with chalk and said, "Mommy, this one is for Uncle Reed." The air smelled of rain and chalk dust. She was laughing and the sound was so pure it hurt. When we got home, I found a cream-colored envelope in the mailbox. My name was written on the front in pretty handwriting. Inside was a short note in my Aunt Ophelia's script. "They chose pride over love. You chose your daughter. That's how a family is supposed to be." I folded it and put it in a drawer. Some victories don't need applause. That night, as I was tucking Eliana in, she yawned. "Mommy, can Grandma and Grandpa come next year?" I hesitated. "No, my love. They aren't going to come anymore." She nodded thoughtfully. "Okay, we can invite Uncle Reed instead." I smiled, brushing the hair from her cheek. "Yes, sweetie, that sounds perfect." When I turned off the light, the room was quiet, but this time it didn't feel empty. It felt peaceful, a peace that had been earned. The next week, everything felt quieter, as if the world had finally exhaled. The constant messages, the notifications, the noise, it all faded to a distant murmur. My parents disappeared from social media, their profiles deleted. Their church released a short statement about family healing, but everyone knew what it was about. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. It was a freedom that doesn't run or scream, but just sits with you in the morning light and lets you breathe. Eliana hummed at the breakfast table, spreading jam on her toast, oblivious to the storm that had finally passed. Reed came over that weekend with groceries and a smile that actually reached his eyes. "You look lighter," he said. "Maybe I am," I replied. We drove to Aunt Ophelia's house for lunch on Sunday. A lemon pie was cooling on the counter, and light filtered through the lace curtains. She hugged Eliana first, then me. "Peace looks good on you, Mara," she said. During the meal, she talked about boundaries, about how love without respect isn't love at all. I listened, truly listened, and for the first time, I believed it. Later, while Eliana colored at the table, Aunt Ophelia slipped an envelope into my hand. "For when you forget why you stopped," she said. Inside was a single sentence: "Kindness with boundaries is strength." That night, I watched Eliana sleep and realized the silence in our house no longer felt like punishment. It felt like protection. I stood in her doorway watching her chest rise and fall under the soft glow of her nightlight. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of tomorrow. I no longer owed my peace to anyone but us. My parents had chosen pride. I chose freedom. And that quiet, firm, final choice was the strongest revenge I could have given. If you've ever had to walk away to protect your peace, you are not alone.